I'm leaving in the morning, Lady Grantham. I doubt we'll meet again.
Do you promise?
Downton Abbey, the grand finale, has pulled in about $44.3 million in the US and $51.4 million overseas, bringing its total to around $95.7 million worldwide. The problem is, it needs roughly $125 million to break even, so it's probably not going to make back its full budget. Still, it did a bit better than A New Era and wrapped up the trilogy on a slightly higher note than most people expected. Because of that, I wouldn't be surprised if the next chapter of the franchise returns to its roots, with another TV season. Yep, a possible Season 7 could be on the way, but now the question is, who would return? The new Downton Abbey movie jumps ahead 2 years from A New Era, and a big chunk of the story revolves around Lady Mary Talbot's messy divorce. On top of that, there's the ongoing question of what's next for Downton, especially when it comes to the fortune left by Cora Crawley, Countess of Grantham. So, what ends up happening to Lady Mary, the Crawleys, the staff, and the rest of the Downton gang? The grand finale wraps up the franchise with a really emotional send-off that's bound to hit fans right in the feels, and the cast felt it too. Joanne Froggatt admitted she didn't expect to cry and even hugged Michelle Dockery during a screening. Dockery said certain scenes really hit hard while filming. So the big question? What's the fate of all the characters? At the end of Downton Abbey, the grand finale, Lady Mary Crawley goes through a lot but comes out stronger. After her divorce from Henry Talbot, she's seen as a bit of an outcast for a while, and there's even a question of whether she should take over Downton as her father, Robert Crawley, steps back. She briefly gets involved with Gus Sambrook, an American businessman, but he turns out to be a con artist trying to swindle the family. Thankfully, Lady Edith steps in and puts a stop to it. By the end, Mary earns the support of the staff and the local community, allowing Robert to move to the Dower House and let her take charge as a single mom. She also makes peace with her sister Edith, and the final scenes are emotional farewells with the family and staff, marking a heartfelt conclusion to her story. In the final scenes of Downton Abbey, the grand finale, Mary has a deeply emotional moment that serves as a tribute to Dame Maggie Smith. While looking around Downton, she envisions the servants' ball from the Christmas special, seeing the family and staff dancing happily. She even glimpses her late husband Matthew Crawley, her sister Lady Sybil Branson, and her grandmother Violet Crawley, the Dowager Countess. The scene is almost angelic, leaving Mary emotional before she walks away, and the camera lingers on her grandmother's portrait as a tribute to Maggie Smith. Michelle Dockery said this sequence was added during filming and was tough to shoot. Mary is naturally stoic, and playing such a sentimental moment while keeping that restraint was challenging, especially with the emotional music from her scenes with Matthew. Despite the difficulty, Dockery found it rewarding, calling it a beautiful tribute to Maggie and a perfect vision by director Simon Curtis. By the end of the grand finale, the rest of the Crawley family have all settled into new rhythms. Robert Crawley, Earl of Grantham, and his wife Cora, Countess of Grantham, decide to move to the Dower House, leaving Lady Mary in charge of running the estate so they can spend more time together. Lady Edith Pelham, now a confident matriarch, stays happily married to Herbert Bertie Pelham, Marquess of Hexham, and has developed a strong bond with Mary. Carmichael noted, she feels very secure. She's happily married and returning to work on her newspaper, which gives her confidence and status. She uses a bit of power in this film to help her sister, which is really cool to see compared to the early days. Dockery added, Mary leans on her because she needs someone to hold on to. Their dynamic has always been brilliant, and this film captures the last great moment between them. Isabel Grey, Lady Merton, also stays close to the family and continues to be active in the community after marrying Richard Grey, Baron Merton. Tom Branson remains happily married to his second wife Lucy, and cares for their young child as well as his eldest daughter Sibby. Though living away from Downton and fully established as a businessman, Branson stays close to his first wife's family. Now, what happens to the staff of Downton Abbey? After much hesitation, Charles Carson finally retires for good, while his devoted wife, Elsie Hughes, continues as Downton's housekeeper. Speaking about Carson's journey in the film, Jim Carter said, "Carson's obviously not going to cope well with retirement. I mean, you've been in service for 50 years?" Beryl Patmore also retires, though she's unsure about leaving service and curious about how her husband Albert Mason might change their life together. Mrs. Hughes soon reassures her that she might actually enjoy it. Padmore passes the kitchen reins to her protege, Daisy Parker, sharing a heartfelt moment where she tells Daisy she's like a daughter to her. Meanwhile, Daisy's husband, Andy Parker, steps up as the new full-time butler of Downton, taking over from Mr. Carson. Phyllis Baxter finally convinces her husband, Joseph Molesley, to ease up on his obsession with his new screenwriting career and focus on building a happy home life. As the Earl and Countess move to the Dower House, Baxter swaps roles with Anna Bates and becomes Lady Mary's lady's maid at the manor. Anna and John Bates are preparing to welcome another child and also leave their positions at Downton to serve as lady's maid and butler at the Dower House. Before leaving, Anna asks Lady Mary to be the godmother of her upcoming child, and Mary happily agrees. Thomas Barrow, the former scheming valet, returns to Downton with his new boss and partner, hit actor Guy Dexter. Initially visiting as an employee, Barrow joins Dexter upstairs with the family after Lady Mary insists, despite the societal prejudices of the time. Inspired by Lady Mary's personal life, Noel Coward writes what becomes his real-life hit, Private Lives. In the end credits, the film gives a glimpse of all the main characters enjoying happy, fulfilling lives with their families. Looking at the cast and plot from Downton Abbey, the grand finale, here's who seems most likely to return if a fourth film were made. The main Crawley family is almost certainly coming back: Michelle Dockery, Elizabeth McGovern, and Laura Carmichael. Servants who are still active in the household would likely return, including Jim Carter, Phyllis Logan, Joanne Froggatt, Brendan Coyle, Sophie McShera, and Michael Fox. Leslie Nichol could also return, especially now that she's retired from cooking but still part of the household. Supporting characters who were central to the last film, like Alan Leach, Kevin Doyle, Dominic West, Paul Giamatti, Harry Haddon Payton, and Penelope Wilton, could also appear if the story continues in London or involves Downton events. New characters introduced in the last movie, Jolie Richardson, Alessandro Nivola, Simon Russell Beale, and Artie Frushan, might return if their storylines expand, but some, like Sam Brooke, might stay out since his plot concluded. Well, that's it for today. If there were a Season 7 or another film, who would you want to see return to the estate? Downton Abbey, the grand finale, gave us emotional farewells, big life changes for the Crawleys and staff, and even a touching tribute to Dame Maggie Smith. But with so many characters moving into new chapters of their lives, it's natural to wonder who might step back into the spotlight if the story continued. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe because we'll be covering more updates on this soon and other exciting upcoming movies and series. We'll see you next time.